I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving weekend. This is a best of replay, taking sort of an easy day today, so please enjoy. I'll be back next week with the anniversary episode, so send those questions in, ama.fppradio.com. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism, and I'm here to answer your questions because that's what I do on Fridays. I answer your questions, those questions that you send in to me using the anonymous, if you want it to be anonymous, contact form online at ama.fppradio.com. That's AMA, as in Ask Me Anything, .fppradio.com. You might be asking, why are you saying it's anonymous if I want it to be? Well, that's because the website requires a name. Doesn't have to be your name, doesn't even have to be a real name. Could just be a random string of characters. It requires an email address. Again, doesn't have to be your email address. Doesn't even have to be a real email address. Just something with an @ a something, and a dot something. Doesn't have to be .com, .org, .net, because there's all kinds of TLDs now. TLDs being top-level domain, so the .com, .org, .club, fill in the blank, and I don't know if fill in the blank is actually one, but all of the others that I said definitely are. And then include a question or a statement that is, kind of question-like. And I've got a very interesting one this week. And yes, it's only one question, but it's something that's going to kind of allow me to deep dive and then take a couple of tangents, as I often do when there's only one question. So the question is, a little while ago, the WWE did a special performance for the troops. And me pausing here in the question, this is a thing that they do on a somewhat regular basis and have been doing for about 15, 16 years that I can remember. I don't recall them doing this back in the 90s, but starting in either 2001 or 2002, WWE started doing these things about once a year called Tribute to the Troops, where they'll send a bunch of the wrestlers over to some military base in like Afghanistan or Iraq, somewhere that's, not necessarily in a war zone, but somewhere close enough to where, like those people could actually go see combat. And they set up a ring and they have matches, and it's a big to-do, but it's all about celebrating the military and say, oh, you're so brave for signing up to kill people on the other side of the planet. We should do something to entertain you. So continuing with the question. A little while ago, WWE did a special performance for the troops. I thought it was entertaining, but I also tend to be anti-military. Darryl, what are your thoughts? And yes, I am very entertained by wrestling and college football. I will watch an NFL game, but I don't go out of my way to watch professional football or professional baseball, just because it's not really something that I get really into. Whereas with college, and a lot of it has to do more with the passion involved, to where college athletes, by and large, are doing it for the love of the game. And pro athletes, not so much. If there was independent pro wrestling somewhere near where I lived, I would definitely go, because, again, there's a lot of passion behind it. And that's not to say that the WWE performers don't have passion in what they're doing, because they certainly do. And if they weren't still, into what they were doing, they wouldn't have a job for very long. And I've realized, it's sort of saying, well, one type of professional doesn't necessarily have the level of passion as another. And again, it's something to where it's just my personal sort of preferences. And I'm not going to tell you that if you watch pro football and not college football, you're the wrong type of football fan. I know people that do that. I'm not one of those people. And I really think that, and I will definitely get back into the militarism aspect of the question, but for me, and I forget who it was, but a good while ago, probably 15, 20 years ago, there was an NFL wide receiver that during a press conference admitted to taking plays off, meaning he was on the field, but he knew he wasn't getting the ball on that play, so he would just sort of go through the motions and not really put in the effort. Because, well, if I wind up, going full speed and blocking the safety or the cornerback or whoever the way I'm supposed to, well, I might wind up getting hurt, and then I miss out on these millions of dollars. And then there was the another wide receiver, I think it was, Terrell Owens, if I recall correctly, who the year after negotiating, I believe it was a 7-year, $49 million contract, meaning about $7 million per year, decided to not show up to training camp because he wanted to renegotiate his contract because, quote unquote, I need to feed my family. If you can't feed your family on $7 million a year, I don't know what in the blue hell you're doing with your money, but you need to have somebody help you manage your money so that you can afford to feed your family on $7 million per year. So, that out of the way, you don't necessarily see those sorts of things in professional wrestling because, again, the guys know, even though this isn't a title match, if I don't perform well, I might get fired. If I wind up injuring my, quote-unquote opponent, who's also my coworker, then I might wind up getting fired. If I am not good at what I do, if the fans don't care about me, whether they love me or hate me, if the fans don't care about me, there's no reason for me to be here. So there is definitely a lot more passion as I see it. So again, I will get into the militarism aspect of the tribute to the troops and just militarism in sports in general. Stay tuned.
It is the year 91,001 BCE. Witness humanity's origins in Hyperchronius, a classic role-playing game for Windows PCs with a story like no other game before. A liberty-oriented experience that is not to be missed. Go to zog.ninja to get your copy of Hyperchronius today. Use the code FPP to get $1 off. Hyperchronius, zog.ninja, code FPP.
You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and Numery supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $3 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. That's fans.fppradio.com.
This is Will Coley of the Call to Freedom, and you're listening to Darryl W. Perry on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. Now, before I get back into answering the question, and I promise I will completely answer the question, and again, there will be a lot of tangents taken on this, because again, there's only one question, and when I only have one question, I like to sort of do a deep dive and then, tangentially answer things that are related to the actual question. Again, jump back into the answer in just a moment, but maybe you've heard a lot about cryptocurrencies lately. A lot of them are worth a lot of money right now. I saw a headline just a couple of days ago that the total market cap of all cryptocurrencies is over like $750 billion. That's with a B, billion. Well, how about a cryptocurrency that focuses on users and usability? I'm talking about Zencash. Zencash is the world's first private, distributed, and reliable platform for communications, transactions, and publishing. Zencash has the ability to use both transparent and shielded transactions being those that only the sender and the receiver know about. Yeah, they do that using zero-knowledge proofs. Zencash features global governance with inclusive decision-making, reliable funding for continuous improvement, and documentation and wallets in many languages, available for Linux, Mac, Windows, and Android devices. Learn more at zensystem.io. That's zensystem.io. Getting back to the question. Again, the question is, Darryl, a little while ago, the WWE did a special performance for the troops. I thought it was entertaining, but I also tend to be anti-military. What are your thoughts? And again, I sort of explained why, and I realize it's not a complete why I like pro wrestling, because that could be a completely, full show on its own. And before you say, Darryl, how can you like something where you know it's predetermined? Do you watch TV? Do you watch movies? And I'm not talking about, documentaries and reality shows, but, say something like, Supergirl, Game of Thrones, movies, all of the Spider-Man movies. Those are all scripted. That the actors know exactly who is going to wind up doing what in that show or that movie. Hell, maybe you've read all the comic books, so you know how everything should work. But you'll still go watch the movie, right? Because why? You want to be entertained. I want to be entertained, and I find professional wrestling to be very entertaining, especially when the performers, the wrestlers, the athletes, if you will, are telling a story in the ring. And I'm not talking about the backstage segments to where, it's pre-filmed and whatnot. No. Thursday morning, January 4th, I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning to watch New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom. They don't do backstage things between the matches. There was like 6 hours of wrestling matches, and the stories got told in the ring. And what do I mean by the stories got told in the ring? So you would have the challenger versus the champion. And, of course, they're fighting, and I'm using air quotes there because they're not actually hurting one another. But you can see the struggle play out of, oh, wow, it looks like this person is going to wind up losing their championship or something. And then something has turned around, and now this person is now, in control, and they wind up, either winning or losing. There was one match in particular where a guy by the name of Minoru Suzuki, who is just an all-around amazing, not just pro wrestler, but an amazing athlete. Like, he is a legit Pancrase champion, mixed martial arts champion. And he had a match to where he was the champion of what they call the open weight. He had the Never Open Weight Championship. And Never is an acronym. I forget exactly what it stands for. But he had the title. Somebody challenged him to a match. And the challenger said, I have nothing to put up. I have no belt, but I have my dignity, and I have my hair. If I lose to you, Minoru Suzuki, I will shave my head. And Suzuki said, if I get beat by you, I will shave my head as well. Now, something that you need to know about Japanese culture, and I learned this from the commentators during the show is that apparently in Japan, if you are disrespected or, something of that sort, as sort of a act of, I can't think of the term off the top of my head, but it's customary when you're disrespected to shave your own head as sort of like an act of solace or something. And so Suzuki wound up saying, if you can beat me, then I will have disrespected myself. I will shave my own head. So I'll put up my title and my hair. And lo and behold, Suzuki wound up losing the match. And some of the people that are in a group with him, they wound up after the match walking him away from the ring, and he realized what was going on, turned around, walked back into the ring, knocked over the chair that had been set up for him, grabbed his own chair, sat it in the ring, and then shaved his own head. And then took a clump of hair and then, slammed it down onto the chair. And that's the type of story that I'm talking about, where you see the story play out in the ring, not in these backstage pre-filmed segments that are kind of like soap operas, although some of those can be entertaining as well. So again, that's by and large why I like pro wrestling. Now let's talk about the militaristic aspect of this tribute to the troops sort of thing. And again, you can kind of see, especially in WWE, a lot of nationalism, to where generally the foreign guy, and I'm using air quotes there because sometimes the foreign guy is from Brooklyn, New York, but the foreign guy is often portrayed as the villain. So militarism's kind of built into it. So why am I entertained? Stay tuned. There's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
In 2001, when my son was born, he was taken to an NICU in Pittsburgh, and I needed to stay at a Ronald McDonald House. On Thanksgiving Day 2001, I joined several other families who were in a similar situation in having a Thanksgiving meal at the RMHC before going to the hospital to be with my son. On October 13th, 2019, I will be representing Ronald McDonald House Charities, RMHC, at the 2019 Chicago Marathon. As a member of Team RMHC, I will be training, fundraising, and ultimately running 26.2 miles to help keep families together during a stressful time. I have secured some limited matching funds, so up to $600 in contributions will be matched through Giving Tuesday, November 27th. Just $25 can provide dinner for a family, and $80 can give a family a room for a night. Help me raise $2,000 for RMHC to not only help me achieve my goal, but also to help children stay close to their families when they need it most, because I've been there myself. rmhc.fppradio.com. rmhc.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com.
Hey, welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio, online at fppradio.com. I am your host, Darryl W. Perry, the Liberty Penguin, the Wombat, the uncut cocaine of libertarianism, and I'm answering your questions, because that's what I do on Fridays. Question. Darryl, a little while ago, the WWE did a special performance for the troops. They call it Tribute to the Troops. Questioner says, I thought it was entertaining, but I also tend to be anti-military. What are your thoughts? And again, as I said, there's a lot of nationalism built into particularly the WWE brand of pro wrestling. You don't necessarily see it so much in some of the other promotions to where, oh, this guy looks foreign, so we're going to make him the bad guy. And there have been some of the stories that WWE, and by stories, I mean, the storylines. Here's the reason that these two guys are in a feud with one another. And there are times to where if you're looking with, an actual objective view, you'll say, wait a second, they have this backwards. This guy should be the good guy because he's having all of these bad things happen, but they're wanting you to believe that he's the bad guy because he's foreign. And then there's one guy in particular, former WWE champion, Jinder Mahal, who he's actually from Saskatchewan, but WWE is saying, he's Indian because, well, he's of Indian descent, but born and raised in Canada. Pay no attention to the fact that he was born and raised in Canada. He's Indian. Therefore, he's the villain because he speaks Punjabi. And he would do this thing to where he would come out and, wind up saying something about, you only hate me because I'm foreign, playing up the whole concept of the foreign bad guy. And then, I'm going to speak to my people in my language, and then he would speak Punjabi, and people would wind up booing. There was another guy, Rusev, that right now he's kind of what they call a baby face, which would be a good guy, but he used to be that foreign heel, the foreign bad guy, because he would talk about some of the horrible things that the United States government has done, and people in the audience, boo! So, again, I often find myself cheering for some of the foreign heels just because they will point out the truth. But again, the question is, what are my thoughts on the tribute to the troops? And I think, by and large, things like this, they wind up perpetuating the myth that, well, if you sign up for the military, you're automatically a hero. Doesn't matter that you're doing absolutely horrible things. Doesn't matter that you're flying this little robot airplane that bombed a wedding or that bombed a hospital. Oh, wait, that wasn't a robot airplane. That was an actual airplane with an actual pilot and an actual guy dropping the bombs from the airplane that wound up bombing the hospital in Kunduz, Afghanistan. And not just a hospital. It wasn't just any hospital. Well, it wasn't just something that somebody set up and said, oh, yeah, we're a hospital. No. This hospital was being operated by Doctors Without Borders. And Doctors Without Borders had been constantly updating the Pentagon and all other militaries that they knew had a presence in the area. Here are our GPS locations. Remember, we're a hospital. We're Doctors Without Borders. The Pentagon said that Doctors Without Borders did everything right, but yet they wound up being bombed for over 90 minutes on October 3rd of, I believe it was 2015, might have been 2016, but wasn't that long ago. And then the Pentagon wound up investigating themselves and said that there were no war crimes because we didn't intend to bomb the hospital. We just happened to have done it for 90 minutes. So when you celebrate everybody in the military just because you're in the military, yay, you send the wrong message. And then there's also the belief that, rights only come because somebody died for your freedom. No, rights did not come because somebody died for something. My rights are inherent because I'm a human being. And not to wind up, pointing to some arbitrary authority, but the document that a lot of Americans, especially the whole, somebody died for your rights thing, they look up to the Declaration of Independence. And what does that document say? All right, we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Not that you have rights because somebody died for them. No. You have them because they're inherent. So, yeah, not a big fan of the whole military celebration. And also, it's not just pro wrestling that tends to have, a yay military sort of thing. It's also professional sports across the board. Talking about professional baseball, professional football. Remember the whole Colin Kaepernick took a knee thing, and now everybody's pissed. Yeah, and I've even noticed the last couple of races that I've run, they've played the national anthem beforehand, and I feel kind of dirty because, it's immediately before they say, runners take your mark, set, go. It's not like I can turn around and completely walk away, although I have turned around and not done the whole salute thing because, well, I don't declare allegiance to some government that arbitrarily kills people and steals my money to do it. Stay tuned. There's more here on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio.
Why do they hate us? Is libertarianism compatible with Islam? Davi Barker answers these questions and more in Voluntary Islam and Other Essays. He advances the voluntarist cause with analysis of the confluence of values between Islam and libertarianism, as well as contemporary movements from the Tea Party to the Arab Spring. Voluntary Islam by Davi Barker is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates, like Namecheap, Spendabit, and Amazon at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. Or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. That's shop.fppradio.com.
You're listening to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio with Darryl W. Perry. Online at fppradio.com.
Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. I definitely have more thoughts on the whole militarism in not just sports, but just, military worship across the board that happens in the United States. And it's not just the U.S. Basically, every country with a military is going to some extent, look up to and sort of, oh, they're great and wonderful just because they're in the military. And maybe I'll rant about this at some other point in time. Again, definitely more thoughts. But first, I want to make sure that I tell you about a place that you can get precious metals, specifically gold and silver, but also platinum and palladium. And they've been helping people for well over 40 years. Talking about Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. Again, they're a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals. So you want to get your hands on some? They can help you out. You want to sell some? Maybe you have some gold, silver, platinum, palladium you need to get rid of. Roberts & Roberts can help you with that as well. And they are crypto preferred, meaning that they have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760. That's 800-874-9760. Or visit them online at rrbi.co. That's rrbi.co. Now, one thing real quick that I want to point out is that a lot of people that are just anti-sports will point to a passage from the book 1984 and say, see, George Orwell was talking about that sports are evil, blah, blah, blah. But they're not reading the entire sentence or even the entire paragraph. I want to read an excerpt to give this a lot more context. Quote, in reality, very little was known about the proles. It was not necessary to know much so long as they continued to work and breed. Their other activities were without importance. Left to themselves like cattle turned loose upon the plains of Argentina, they had reverted to a style of life that appeared to be natural to them, a sort of ancestral pattern. They were born, they grew up in the gutters, they went to work at 12, they passed through a brief blossoming period of beauty and sexual desire. They married at 20, they were middle-aged at 30, they died for the most part at 60. Heavy physical work, the care of home and children, petty quarrels with neighbors, films, football, beer, and above all, gambling filled the horizon of their mind. Don't forget, every Friday, I answer your questions. Send those over, ama.fppradio.com.
The podcasts of FPP Radio are licensed under Copy Heart. We believe that copying is a form of flattery and do not abide by the copyright laws. Those laws serve to restrict the flow of ideas which no one can really own. Copying is an act of love. Love is not subject to law. If you enjoy the show, consider joining the Fans program and get perks like ad-free versions of Peace, Love, Liberty Radio and FPP Radio News, and also get a copy of the monthly newspaper FPP News. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com.